Good morning, everyone. It's so good to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning. So before we get started, I just want to acknowledge that we're meeting on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territories of the First Nations and Native American peoples. So I know my family and I are on the land of the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations, but many of you are on the land of other nations. So if you'd like, please feel free to write those nation names in the chat now. And always, let's just remember our connection to our siblings in these nations and pray for the day in which we might be with them in right relationship. So welcome to Living Interfaith. Know that the whole of you is welcome. You're not asked to leave who you are in your own homes. Please bring who you are in with you. But what you are asked to remember is that everyone around you has brought who they are in with them as well. And all of goodwill are welcome. So Bruce and Cheryl, our regular musicians, are still away on holiday, but in lieu of them, we're so lucky to have 3 musicians this week. It's so great. We're just so grateful that Carolyn and Greg and Steve have stepped up, and they're going to be sharing the music over the course of the service. So when you're ready, Carolyn and Greg, would you like to share Come, Come, Whoever You Are?
Okay.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Yes, so I have a few announcements to share, just a couple. So the first one is that there's going to be an event to celebrate the Vancouver Jewish queer community. It's going to be at the end of this month. It's going to be called Celebrate Pride Havdalah. So it should be really fun. It's going to have lots of food and music and dancing and opportunities for people to meet the local members of the community and Jewish community members who are queer and allies. So if you're interested, that's going to be happening at the Vancouver Jewish Community Center on 41st Street in Vancouver on Saturday, July 29th at 7:30 p.m. And you can sign up. I believe it's a free event, but they do request signups so they know how much food to prepare. So I'm just going to put a link to the registration page in the chat. So that's the end of this month. And then my only other announcement right now is just a reminder that Stephen's 5th book came out. So this is his book, An Afternoon's Dictation. It's lovely. It's all about the spiritual experience he had that led to him creating the Living Interfaith Church. And this model of all of us coming together and taking turns celebrating each other and learning about one another. So it's very much in keeping with our theme. And he swears this will be his last book. I don't know. I've heard him say that before, but it's wonderful. And so you can get it online. I'll put the link in the chat. And also, if you do have it, and if you'd be interested in writing a review online, either on Goodreads or Amazon, that would be great, because the more reviews there are, well, unless you don't like it, in which case don't write a review. But if you do like it, then write a positive review, and then people will know that it's a good book that they should get. So yes. So I think those are my only announcements right now. Does anyone have any other announcements? Yes, Samir.
I have an announcement for 2 events, both of which are next Saturday, the 22nd. The first is a repair cafe at Hillcrest Community Center. Repair cafe is where you bring small items or small appliances or your laptops, and they'll fix them for you free of charge. I'm planning to be there as a volunteer. So if you come by, do say hi. Hillcrest Community Center, for those of you who don't know, is in Vancouver on 33rd Avenue, between halfway between Main and Cambie Avenues, and it's near the big Nat Daly Stadium. And then later that same day, I believe it's at 4 p.m. there is a concert by one of our favorite musicians, David Drovix, whose songs are entirely almost entirely around topics of politics and social justice. And he is going to be playing at the Longhouse Church. Again, that's next Saturday, July 22nd. So we hope to see some of you guys there.
Perfect. Thank you, Samir. Any other announcements? Okay, so let's come into silence for a moment. And then Samir, if you're willing, would you be willing to do a Surah Al-Fatiha to start us out? Thank you.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم الصراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. صدق الله العظيم.
Beautiful. Thank you, Samir. And in English, that translates to, in the name of Allah, the infinitely compassionate and merciful. Praise be to Allah, Lord of all the worlds, the compassionate, the merciful, ruler on the day of reckoning. You alone do we worship, and you alone do we ask for help. Guide us on the straight path, the path of those who have received your grace, not the path of those who have brought down wrath, nor of those who wander astray. Amen. And then I was searching for either a poem or a prayer in the Muslim tradition for courage, based on the theme today, since we're honoring Muharram, which we'll learn about in a little bit. And I found this poem from Jalaluddin Rumi, whose song we always sing at the beginning, and it's called The Beggar's Courage. There are lots of translations, but here's a more straightforward in English translation. One went to the door of the beloved and knocked, and a voice asked, "Who's there?" The man answered, "It is I." But the voice said, "There's no room here for me and you." So the door was shut. After a year of solitude and deprivation, the man returned to the door of the beloved and knocked again. A voice from within asked, "Who is there?" And the man said, "It is you." The door was open for him. Thank you. When you're ready, Rachel has a candle lighting poem prayer for us.
Hi, yeah, I thought today, instead of reading something, I would show a short video of a prayer called the Ziyarat Ashura, and it's recited by Abdul Hai Kambar. This is just the first minute and a half. It's 12 minutes long. So I'll put the full link in the chat afterward, but I will just share my screen here.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Rachel. And now let's offer one another a sign of peace. Peace. Salam alaikum, everyone. So good to be with you.
Peace to all of you.
Peace.
Shalom.
Salam.
Peace and
Peace
comfort.
to you.
Hello, Apa, my friends. Peace to you.
Peace be with you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Free to see you, Ryan and Peterson. And now when you're ready, Steve has a song he'll play for us.
This will be my offering of peace to you.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much, Steve. And now if you'll join me in our joint affirmation. We come together in peace. We sing together in joy and with love. We worship together in one house, a house with names beyond number. Our paths are many, our beliefs are as leaves, and the tree that we cleave to is nourished by the light of compassion, justice, and mutual respect. May our lives, our beliefs, and our actions help to bring about the world of love we all seek. and let it begin here. Thank you. Now is when we usually pray in our own homes and in our own ways. As always, there are so many things that require our prayers right now. I know before the service started, some of us were talking about the wildfires. I know Carolyn and Greg are fully blanketed by smoke right now out in eastern BC. We also mentioned the severe flooding in Vermont. So certainly feel free to pray for those things this morning. And then also I've been reading about the situation in Sudan. It's really ramping up into a civil war right now. 3 million people have been displaced just in the last few months. And they just discovered a mass grave in Darfur of almost 90 people. So if we could also pray for those in Sudan today. Let's take some moments to pray. Thank you. And then when you're ready, Steve, I know he has another song for us. Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Steve. We really appreciate it. So thank you all for sharing. Also, thank you for those of you who donate to support this organization. So I'm just going to put our donation page in the chat. It's on our website. I know lots of you donate each month or whenever you can to help support our ministry here, our musicians, and our fantastic managing director, Rachel, and all of our work here. And we're just so grateful for what you donate. So thank you for this and for all you bring to this community. It's always such a joy being with you. And I believe Carolyn and Greg have a song for us now. So when you're ready, over to you, Carolyn and Greg.
From you? Yeah.
From you I received, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I received, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I love when friends play a musical instrument you didn't know they played. You're like, wait a minute, the flute too. I didn't even know you played the flute. So it's wonderful. Thank you so much, Carolyn and Greg. And now it's my joy to turn it over to Anil Kotadia. So Anil and I apparently have actually seen each other at the Richmond Jamaat Khana, the Ismaili community here in the Richmond area, where Samir and the kids go. But we never officially met until our mutual friend Nash, who's also on the call, agreed to get us connected. So Anil is doing some really good work in the community and is interested in the kind of community building that we're discussing here. And said that the story of Muharram, which I'm sure he'll touch on, can help us in a new way today. So when you're ready, Anil, over to you. Oh, you're on mute, just as a heads up.
Yeah, you're good?
Yes, there we go. Perfect.
Oh, terrific. Well, thank you very much, Reverend Kathy, and all the listeners and viewers out there. Thank you for inviting me to speak to your organization. I wasn't not aware of it previously, and I was very joyfully welcoming the opportunity to find out a little bit more about it. And I commend you for setting up this organization that is so forward thinking and open-minded, something that I've been searching for out there for years and haven't really quite found these some of these organizations that were as open-minded and forward thinking as you are. So congratulations on your achievement in there, and you're doing great work there. Just to start, Kathy, if you can tell me how much time do I have?
You have as long as you'd like. Usually folks talk anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes.
10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so that's, we'll try to keep it very short then. So basically, the topic is titled The Significance or Spiritual Significance of Muharram. And so I'm going to read out in part, adapted by me, the description of Muharram in the Wikipedia. And there are basically two aspects to it. So first one, Muharram, fully known as Muharram al-Haram, is the first month of the Islamic calendar. And it is one of the 4 sacred months of the year. The word Muharram means forbidden or prohibited. And in particular, war is forbidden. It is part of the pre-Islamic Arabic tradition adapted by the early Islam, and it is held to be the second holiest month after Ramadan. In particular, the 10th day of Muharram is known as Ashura, meaning 10th in Arabic. It had special significance and was day of fasting prior to the Ramadan becoming the month of fasting. And it is said that this day also marked the anniversary of the parting of the Red Sea by Moses, among other claims of other events falling on that day as well. So that's the first part, and spiritual significance of Muharram is something for all Muslims. It's a sacred month, and 10th of Muharram has a special significance there. But historically, through a tragic event, for Shia Muslims in particular, now numbering approximately 250 million population worldwide, the month of Muharram, particularly the first 10 days and climaxing on the 10th day of Ashura, became a very significant annual ritual. And it's also an annual pilgrimage, which I just found out yesterday. It's the world's largest gathering or annual pilgrimage of some 20 million people from 25 countries in war-torn Iraq, if you can believe that, walking through for several days in the desert, hot desert heat, to the point of this Karbala, where this event took place. So in Shia Islam, Muharram is a month of remembrance. And Ashura is well known in Shia tradition because of its historical significance and mourning for this shahadat or martyrdom of Imam Husayn, who was the successor and son-in-law and the son of Ali, the first Imam of the Shias, and the grandson of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them. Now, Shia Muslims begin mourning from the first night of Muharram and continue for 10 nights, climaxing on the 10th of Muharram, known as the day of Ashura. The last few days, up until and including the day of Ashura, are the most important because these were the days in which Imam Husayn excuse me for a second. During these final days, the Imam Husayn and his family and followers amounting to, including children and elderly, who were including several grandchildren and family members of the Holy Prophet, were deprived of water from the 7th day onward. And on the 10th day, Imam Husayn and 72 of his followers were killed, or most of the 72 of his followers were killed by the army of Yazid at the Battle of Karbala in the desert of Iraq. On Yazid's orders, the surviving members of Husayn's family and those of his followers were taken captive, marched to Damascus, and imprisoned there. Now, Yazid was a son of Muawiyah, who was son of Abu Sufyan. Yazid had become the leader of the Umayyad dynasty and caliphate of that had taken over the powerful now Muslim empire. This happened about 48 years after the passing of the Prophet Muhammad. And now this Muslim empire had grown to become a new world superpower. He was an oppressive tyrant, and Yazid's family were the ruling clan in Mecca prior to the rise of Islam and a fierce opponent of early Islam. To secure his power, Yazid demanded allegiance from Imam Husayn, which Imam Husayn refused, fully knowing the consequences. And Imam Husayn knew that he was going to be killed. by not offering his loyalty to Sayyid, to Yazid. And so he was in Mecca and Medina, and he, with his immediate family members and some followers of about 72, they marched out of Mecca and Medina because he did not want to tarnish the sacred land of the two cities. And he was marching towards into Iraq, where he had some call by from a number of supporters. And Yazid sent armies of thousands to intercept and basically cut them off at a place called Karbala by the river nearby. And then on the 7th day of Muharram, denied them access to water, and they had to basically fight for their lives, and they're basically slaughtered. So to me, so this is an annual event that is celebrated by most Shias and other Muslims, and in different ways by different people. But what I'd like to do is now focus on what is, because I believe history has lessons to teach us, and annual events and rituals are good to help us remember them and carry the stories forward. And these lessons or these events hold lessons for each individuals in their lives, plus each time in the world history as well. Because thinking about this, I realized that this particular event and the stance that Imam Husayn took, we are the beneficiaries of that right now. We don't realize things like that. It's being able to sit here and talk to with each other, and the life that we enjoy, that came through a series of choices and actions taken by numerous individuals and communities and organizations and countries, and throughout history. So one of the things that I'll give you a very quick background for myself. Professionally, I was in accounting and training, and then became a serial entrepreneur. But my passion has always been an inspirational explorer and innovator of concepts and ideas. And one of the things that I have been working for a long time is on choices, life choices that we make. And what I realized is that as individuals or as communities or humanity as a whole, whatever we are being, doing, or having at this moment now here is a product of all our past collective choices that are influenced in large part by the outside world events and circumstances and our upbringing and so on. So when you start looking at that from higher and higher perspective and looking at history, whether it's our own life histories or history of cultures and humanity as a whole, you see these patterns emerging, and you see associations, and you see everything being connected. As they say in quantum physics, when a butterfly flaps its wings in Japan, you'll probably find a hurricane in America or something like that. So every action, every choice that we make has ripple effects, and there are that impact a lot more people as well as ourselves down the road. And so now let's look at from the choice perspective, why is this event important for us to understand, and maybe the lessons that we can draw from it to apply for ourselves in our lives, the challenges, some of the members mentioned here that they face and even things like rents going up or other challenges around the world, the floods, the climate changes, and the pandemics and wars and so on. So each and every one of us, every moment has a choice. Now, this story is really about life and death, but it's about light and darkness, and truth and falsehood. So Imam Husayn was according to the Shias, he was the successor of a divinely appointed spiritual leader and successor, the Lord of the age and time. And this story is very similar in other faiths, with Jesus as well, and the crucifixion stories, and in other faiths and martyrdoms, we see similar trends there. So Imam had the choice of facing fear and bowing to that fear and accepting the rule of an oppressive, murdering tyrant, and that went against all his values. He did not try to enforce his own spiritual power and authority. That was for inspirational, for those who are inspired by it to follow and accept, but he would not force that on people. But the worldly authorities by people like Yazid and emperors, that was being forced on people, and that Imam Husayn would not do. And he knew the consequences of that. Yazid had become a very powerful person, and he would have to die for that belief. So he was steadfast in his belief and in his values, and he's willing to sacrifice, or his family and companions that accompanied him. He asked them that you don't need to be here. You can leave, and they agreed to stay with him and die with him too. So the question that I would pose to all of you is, what are the things that you value the most in your lives? What are the things that you stand for, that you are willing to do whatever it takes, whatever is necessary, and including, if necessary, to be able to give your life for it and die for it. Recently, we celebrated the Eid al-Azha, just I think a couple of weeks ago, which is the annual celebration by Muslims marking the anniversary of Abraham's sacrificing his son for his faith. And again, the same sort of thing is for your faith, or what you really believe in, with all your heart, and what are you willing to do for that? Are you willing to give? What are you willing to give for it and sacrifice for that? And it's the stance that we are willing to take. And we see these kind of things right now with things like the war in Russia and Ukraine, and many other places, in Burma, in Sudan, in Africa. I myself was a refugee. We're celebrating the 50th anniversary of being kicked out of Uganda, and making a new life. And our choices are always about, it all comes down to choices. It's not about what happens to you, but how do you respond to that, and what do you do out of it? That then triggers events that you control, and you are now the creator of, rather than reactor of. And in case of Imam Husayn, a very powerful spiritual leader, enlightened leader, had a choice. Does he fight? Does he accept Yazid, bow down to him and just step aside and let him do what he can. And fighting was not an issue because he didn't have quite the power either. But what he did was very remarkable, in my opinion, by standing up to Yazid, but be willing to be sacrificed for it. He actually caused an awakening revolution, because what happened was Prophet Muhammad came to a place in Mecca where the people were very backward. The community was, their practices and rituals were very backwards and very ignorant. And it took him his, life's work since gaining prophethood to bring about this turnaround and establish a new faith, Islam, which is really not really a new faith that most of us think of it as such. It's the original faith, it's the one and the only faith, because it is part of all the other faiths that have come, because there is no new faith. It's the source is the same, but the teachers, the messengers have been different to different people at different times. So it wasn't really anything new, but it was bringing people in that region back to the original source, the faith or path that leads one to salvation, I guess. But it wasn't, when you're taking a group of people and you're converting them, it's not that the work is finished. It takes decades, generations, many generations. And these events were just within decades, 40, 50 years of passing of the prophet. So there were still a lot of ignorances, a lot of the old plans and systems that were in place. And what Imam Husayn did was, through his sacrifice, he shook the Muslim world and caused an awakening of awareness. What I call, and what I believe what we need right now in the world as well, again right now, and I think you guys with your church services here and your work, you are part of this new system, supplementing the existing all established religions and the churches and whatnot. What we need is what I call a mass awakening of human awareness, or the acronym in short would be MAHA. I call it revolution or evolution with an R at beginning. And that is what is required today for us to overcome many of the challenges that the unprecedented challenges the world has ever faced in its history, because now we are facing a lot more challenges than and possible multiple existential threats within our own lifetime. And from my perspective, the only thing that can really provide a lasting solution to that is some kind of an awakening, mass awakening of awareness of humanity at large, or collective choices has to become different than what we have been doing in the last few, particularly last few decades to last couple of centuries rather. So in a way, this is what Imam Husayn did, was he shook the Muslim world and awakened them to get back the Muslim empire from moving into a wrong direction, away from spirituality and away from the true faith, towards and what the Prophet had intended. And then we saw the after throwing of the Umayyad dynasty and other new civilization, Muslim civilization and cultures flourishing and providing the world with tremendous amount of arts, culture, advances in science, in medicine, in astronomy, you name it. And a lot of the things that we enjoy today were on the backs and shoulders of those great periods that that followed. So in a way, this is taking the past and using this annual event as a how can we apply it today in our lives and in our world, and what can we do? Do we have the same courage, and or are we bowing to fear? And I ask you, what is your calling in your life? What is your individual, personal, inspired calling for you in your life? And are you willing to do whatever is necessary towards that? And I would like to end with that. And I will be happy to stay on a little bit longer. If anybody has questions later, we can discuss. So here I just gave you a little bit of the history, but and my own individual personal perspective on that. And it'd be nice to hear other people's too. Thank you very much for listening. And
that's great. Thank you so much, Anil. That was wonderful. Thank you for sharing the story with us, and also seeing how we can use it to inspire you to be inspired today and to make better choices. So thank you. I think Carolyn and Greg have a final song for us, and then I'll do the closing blessing. And then if folks are available and interested, they can stay after for a little Q&A that Anil has offered. So thank you. When you're ready, Carolyn and Greg.
So this is a piece of music that Cheryl and Bruce have done before, and we just thought of all the pieces that they've done like this is possibly, well, we were hoping it would be the easiest one that we could try. So we'll do our best. Kathy and Rachel, were you able to get the, oh, there we go. Okay, there it is. Good. So you all can sing along at home as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. It was wonderful. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you to all who shared today, to Anil for sharing his message, to Carolyn and Greg and Steve for sharing their beautiful musical and singing talents with us. We're just so grateful. And let's just remember as we go forward during this holy month of Muharram, the sacrifices that people have made before us in order to bring us the life we have now. And while we also grieve these sorrows and all those who have suffered from injustice and intolerance in the past, let's also use the examples of those who have fought against this in the past to inspire us to make better choices going forward, and to just take Neil's question forward with us. What do we want to fight for in the world today? What will we stand for? And what won't we allow to overcome? So thank you so much. Let's remember this and let's go forward, hopefully inspired in the future. Amen.